What's going on there, YouTube? Welcome back to another comic book video. Okay, so we're going to do something a tad bit different here on my channel. So a while back, I received a super thing. And as y'all know, a super thing is where you pay money to have your comments shown to me, but it's also a way to say, hey, we appreciate your work. And so I had somebody give me a super thing, and they asked me like, hey Fresh, can you cover the Thing series that took place right after Secret Wars? And I was kind of like, man, I forgot that Ben Grimm, one of my favorite characters in Marvel Comics, had actually received a series, but it actually took place before Secret Wars, and then after Secret Wars, they had a whole big storyline where Ben Grimm had the ability to actually turn back into his human form. Let me explain. So back in 1984, we had a big event called Secret Wars, and it was a huge event where you had the Beyonder being able to build up Battleworld. And Battleworld was just a patchwork of different pieces of different planets across the main Marvel universe. Now, when it came to Secret Wars, you had a group of heroes of Earth to fight against a group of villains of Earth in one big huge battle on Battleworld. Now, at the tail end of that crossover, we had learned that Ben Grimm had the ability to turn back into his regular human form. And that was a huge moment in Marvel Comics. But the problem was he could only do it on Battleworld. He could not do it anywhere else in the universe, it seemed. And so at the tail end of the big crossover, you have Ben Grimm tell the Fantastic Four that he was going to stay on Battleworld for two reasons. One, he loves the idea that now he is able to turn back into a regular human. But two, he wants to learn why he's only able to turn back into a human on Battleworld and nowhere else. What is happening on Battleworld that allows him to turn back into a human? And so for Ben Grimm, that's the whole idea of the story arc. Now, like I said, this took place in 1984. By this point, the Thing series was already hitting issue number 11. So we're not going to cover the first 10 issues for right now. We're going to focus on issue number 11 and forward when it comes to Ben Grimm now having the ability to turn back into a regular human. And so as we get into the main book, we actually pick up with Ben Grimm still on Battleworld. Now we do learn that it has been 3 days since the ending of Secret Wars. And so for Ben Grimm, he loved the idea to have the ability to turn back into a regular human, but right now we kind of see that he is beginning to become a tad bit lonely. So he does pull out a device that was given to him by Reed Richards, and this device will allow him to go back to Earth anytime he's ready to go back home. Except when he does pull out the device, it gets taken away by some kind of creature, and that creature is being controlled by some kind of small alien. And so you have this alien being able to use its flying creature to get away from Ben Grimm, but of course it now has the only way for Ben Grimm to get back to Earth. So Ben now has to follow that creature to get that device back. Now, like I said earlier, when it comes to Battleworld, Battleworld was put together by the Beyonder, but really it's a patchwork. It's different pieces of different planets across the universe that was put together to make up Battleworld. And so while you have Ben Grimm trying his best to chase down this flying creature, he's going through different kinds of terrains, different kinds of environments. And so for him, it's actually a challenge. Now, Ben Grimm is not trying to chase down this creature in his form as the Thing. He wants to do it as a regular human, because for many years by this point in Marvel Comics, he was just a Thing. He forgot what it felt like to be a regular human going through an actual challenge. And so he is able to follow the flying creature through different parts of Battleworld, up to the point where he does arrive at some kind of desert. Now, in the middle of the desert, there's some kind of tower where the flying creature had actually flown to. And so you have Ben say, you know what? Let me go ahead, head over there and see what in the world is going on with that tower. And maybe I'll find the flying creature and get my item back. Now, for Ben Grimm, he realized that when he gets close enough to the tower, there's not any features that would allow him to actually climb up the tower to find the flying creature and its rider. But then he realized that there is a small town that was actually built around the tower. Now, when I say built, I don't mean that these small aliens were able to build their homes. Apparently, their homes were most likely grown out of some kind of organism. Either way, you have Ben realize that if he can find a bar, then most likely he'll get information about how to climb that tower. And really, for Ben, luckily, he does find a bar. Now, you do have the bartender tell Ben Grimm that his item was actually stolen from a taker. So the rider of the flying creature is known as a taker. They go around and they take things. That's really it. But here's the thing though, all the different people in the small town around the tower are different people who were victims of having their things stolen from takers over the years. They chase the takers over to this area, but then realize they can't get their stuff back because there's no way up the tower. And so they had decided to go ahead and stay here in this area to become part of the town. And so for Ben Grimm, he also learns that nobody was able or has been able to get up into the tower. And now Ben Grimm is trying his best to figure out how in the world is he going to get up there. But while you have Ben Grimm leaving the bar, he realized that he's being followed by a small little alien girl, a green alien girl, who apparently has a way up to the tower. You see, she also has her own flying creature, but unfortunately, she cannot ride the creature correctly. And so she thinks that Ben Grimm will be able to help her out because she also had an item stolen from the takers 16 years ago. Apparently, it was a wedding gift. And when that item was taken away, it brought shame to her family. And so she can't go back home until she gets that item. And so Ben Grimm does make a deal with her. Say, hey, I'll use your flying creature to get both our items back from the takers. And so you have Ben climb on top of the flying creature and begin to try to use it as a way to get to the top of the tower. Now for Ben Grimm, he is able to use the flying creature to fly towards the actual tower, except when he does, he learns the tower is actually a portal that leads into another part of Battleworld. Now, once he does go through the portal, he does find the home of the takers. And so he does change into the thing and he breaks open their door to their home and say, hey, you guys stole from me earlier. I want my device back now. And the takers, they're scared of Ben Grimm and they go ahead and hand over what they had stolen. But before he leaves, he said, you also stole an item from a young girl 16 years ago. I'm gonna need you to find that item and give it back to her, or we're gonna have some more problems down the road. And the takers, they do what he said because they're scared of him. And you have Ben Grimm just walk away and continue to make an adventure across Battleworld. Now, I want to remind you guys one more time that Battleworld is like a patchwork of different pieces of planets from across the universe put together to make up Battleworld. And so, while you have Ben Grimm being able to continue on across Battleworld, he does arrive at a different part of Battleworld where there's mountains in this area, but the mountains were clean cut on the sides to make sure that this piece of Battleworld would fit perfectly with the rest of the pieces of Battleworld. Now for Ben Grimm, he wants to know what's happening inside that actual place. And so he goes in the mountains. Now as he gets deeper and deeper, he realized to himself that this does kind of seem like a piece of Earth, even though it's not really a piece of Earth. Now you do have Ben Grimm being able to go deeper and deeper into the actual mountains, except when he does, he's then confronted by this great warrior riding a horse trying to kill him off. And the reason why, because he believes that Ben Grimm is working for some kind of dark wizard in the area. Now, Ben Grimm is trying his best to tell this warrior that no, I am not working for some dark wizard. I just arrived here a moment ago. Now, we are going to learn the name of this character down the road, But getting back to what's happening right now, you have this warrior tell Ben Grimm that outside the mountains, there's nothing. So this warrior truly believes his entire world takes place in the mountains, and that is it. There's nothing outside the mountains at all. And so you have been like, nah, man, like, there's many things out there. You have to travel outside the actual area. And also, I'm not working for some kind of dark wizard. But again, the guy is not listening. He continues to attack Ben Grimm. And so you have been having to change into his thing form to actually stop the warrior in his place. Now, after you have Ben Grimm being able to actually stop the warrior in his track, well, you did have the warrior kind of enter some kind of trance where he's unable to move. He's unable to speak. He's just frozen in place. And you have been trying to put him down, but then another warrior appears. But this warrior is a female, and she's very upset with Ben Grimm because she believes that Ben had just hurt the man that she apparently is with. But also, she believes that Ben is also an evil demon working for the wizard of this area. So her goal is to take him out. But again, you have been being able to stop her easily by using his powers of the thing. But after taking her down, it's now Ben saying, let me show you that I'm not someone working for the dark wizard of this area. Let me show you that I'm actually an innocent person. So you have Ben changed back into his regular human form to show her that he's not going to be any kind of trouble. Now for her, she kind of took this as, okay, you know what? It's Ben letting down his guard. And that really shows that there's no way that he's actually working for the dark wizard of this area. But then after that, she does tell us her name. Now, her name is actually Tariana, and she came here with her friend Hanrock, the guy warrior, to hunt down the dark wizard of this area. But while you have the two characters talking to one another, Hanrock runs away. He goes somewhere else in the forest, and they have no idea why the man is just running away. And so you have Tariana and Ben follow him, except when they do, you then have our heroes be confronted by Doctor Doom. Now, this actually led into some problems in Marvel Comics. So let me explain. You see, when it came to Doctor Doom around this time in Marvel Comics, he was actually dead over in Fantastic Four comics, but then we had Secret Wars. In that crossover, he was alive again. And for a lot of people, it's kind of like, wait a second, if we saw him die over in Fantastic Four comics, then how in the world is he alive right now in Secret Wars? And the book kind of ended on the idea that Doom is no longer around. But here we are now, we have a giant-sized Doctor Doom trying to fight against our heroes. And the big question is right now, how is that even possible? Now, you do have our heroes trying their best to bring down Doctor Doom, but he's showing that he is a tad bit too strong. But then you have Ben being lucky to throw a tree right at the right spot to actually break Doom to few pieces. It kind of seemed like he was just a robot put together. But after the battle, you then have Ben Grimm wanting to make sure that Tariana is okay. But the problem is, though, Hanrak believes that Ben Grimm is once again still working for the Dark Wizard in some kind of way. Of course, talking about Doctor Doom being the Dark Wizard. But you have been trying to tell Hanrak, like, hey man, listen, I just worked with her to take that guy down. I'm not working for the Dark Wizard. But Hanrak is not listening. But then you have Ben Grimm begin to get jumped on by a bunch of small clones of Doctor Doom. Now, you have Hanrak kind of like just standing there watching Doom beat down on Ben Grimm. But you then have Tariana get back up and demand they actually help out Ben Grimm. Now, Hanrak, he believes that Tariana is also under the spell of the Dark Wizard, Doctor Doom. But she's all like, no, that man helped me bring down the bigger version of the Dark Wizard. He's on our side. what don't you understand? And so she has to use her fighting skills to take him down to help out Ben Grimm. And she throws her weapon right at one of the Doom's chest, getting rid of all the clones in a matter of seconds. And so the battle is over once again. Now Henrak apparently had just collapsed once again. And so our hero's goal is to take him back to the home of Tariana and Henrak, back to their village. Now for Tariana, she's very worried that Henrak might be very upset about the idea of losing to a woman, but also not being able to bring down the Dark Wizard like Ben Grimm did earlier. Again, talking about Dr. Doom. But while you have Ben, Tariana, and Henrak walk over to the village for Tariana and Henrak, you have been kind of wondering, how in the world was Doom back there? Because again, Doom was dead back on Earth, and Doom disappeared at the end of Secret Wars. And so for Ben, he's kind of like, what in the world is going on with Battleworld? But either way, once they do arrive back to the village, Ben is very surprised in what he is seeing, because right now he's seeing Doomstat, the main city of Latveria, the home of Dr. Doom, but back on Earth. But on top of that, the castle that belonged to Doom is also there as well. And so for Ben, he's kind of wondering, what in the world is going on? Was this actual city taken away from Earth as well? Or is this a copy of Doomstat back on Earth? What is really going on Battleworld? Now for Ben Grimm, he's kind of wondering, is this actually a copy of Doomstat? Because he's been there so many times over the years in Marvel Comics. And so when he looks around this area, each part of this Doomstat copy looks exactly the same of Doomstat back on Earth. And so for Ben, he kind of believes that this could actually be Doomstat, but at the same time, the people are acting different. The people are dressed different than the people back on Earth when it comes to Doomstat back on Earth. And so for Ben, he's kind of wondering, what in the world is going on here? Now, for Tariana, she does take Ben over to see the leader of this tribe, and his name is Tamar. Now for Tamar, he kind of realized that Henrak is very upset, and we already know why, because he feels like a failure because he was not able to take down the Great Wizard. He also lost to Tariana earlier, but also you have Tariana going out of her way to give high praise to Ben for being able to take down the Great Wizard, and she's telling Tamar everything he did in that battle. Now other warriors in the area, they overhear this conversation, and they cannot believe an outsider was actually able to take down the Great Wizard. Now let's not forget what I said earlier. You see, to these people, there's nothing outside the mountains. Their whole entire world takes place inside the mountains, and that is it. But for Ben, he's all like, that's not possible because I came from outside the mountains into your area, into your village. But either way, they kind of want to know more about Ben, but Ben also has a lot of questions about this tribe and also this area, and also seeing a copy of Doomstat in this area of Battleworld. And so you have Tamar begin to tell a story to Ben Grimm about the origin of this place. And we do learn it actually started with a great war between two powerful groups who were using magic, good and evil. There was one group called the Corithoril, and I really hope I pronounced that correctly, and the other one's called the Starnaris. Now, the Starnaris group were actually the evil ones. And so you have the Corithorils, the Corithoril. And so you have Tamar begin to tell us the actual origin of this area. And he tells us that many years ago, there was a great war between two different magic user groups. The first were called the Corithorils, and they were the good guys. And the other group, well, they were called the Starnaris, and they were the evil group. But either way, the war went on for many years. But you had the Corithorils being able to actually win the war. But after doing that, they say, you know what? Let's use our magic to bless the land of this area and build homes for people to actually live in. And after doing that, and you didn't have more and more people begin to arrive in this village, you didn't have the Corithorils use their magic to build a castle to say this area is going to be protected by us. Make sure the Starnarians can never come back and do any harm to you people at all. But then word got out very quickly about the idea that there is a powerful wizard nearby. And of course, they were talking about Dr. Doom. And so you had this village begin to send out different warriors to hopefully take out this powerful wizard. The problem was every single warrior failed. Some never came back. The ones who did, it seemed like they had their life force drained out of them completely. And that is the complete origin of this area. But after hearing the story, you have Tamar being able to give Ben a room for the night to stay in. Now for Ben, he begins to kind of think about Tariana because he realized that she was very impressed in the idea that he could change form so easily, but also because he was able to take down the great wizard by himself, Dr. Doom. But he's kind of wondering, would she still think of him as a great warrior if he tells her that he actually hates his rocky form, his Thane form? But while he's thinking that, she does walk into the room because she realized that Ben Grimm is hiding something about her, but also this area. Because apparently after hearing that story, Ben cannot truly believe that this area all began because of one great war. To Ben, there's more to the story. And so she begins to ask him different questions about his past, but also what he's actually thinking about this area. And he does talk to her. But the following morning, you have Ben and Tariana walking around the village. Now for Ben, he wants to know what is actually inside the castle. Now for Tariana, she tells him nobody is allowed to go inside there. But for Ben, he's not trying to listen at all. He wants to know what's going on inside the actual castle. And so he begins to walk towards it. But then he just disappears just like that. Now for Tariana, we do learn that her father did the same thing as well, and he also disappeared. And she wants to know if Ben is okay, but also what could possibly be inside the castle. And so she walks towards the castle, and she also disappears. Now, you have Hanrak nearby, and he sees Tariana and Ben go into the castle, and he's still very upset about the idea that now he has been painted as a coward in his village. And so he now wants to show that he's not a coward at all. And so he also walks towards the castle, and he also disappears as well. But while you have Ben being able to enter the castle, he realized that the entire place has been completely abandoned for many years. Like no one has been inside this place in many, many years. Either way, he still believes there's something going on inside this castle. And so he goes deeper into the actual place. Now, let's not forget that Tariana, she did follow Ben inside the castle, but she was just a tad bit too late. So by the time she got inside, Ben had already moved on. Now Tariana, she also realized that this place has been abandoned for many years. But while she's trying to get a look around, that is when somebody grabs her from behind. Now for Ben, he does continue on deeper into the castle, but he realized closer and closer he gets to the actual center of the castle, the harder it gets for him to breathe, which tells him that he must be getting close to something. Now we do learn who actually had grabbed Tariana. It was Hanrak. And this is Hanrak really showing us that he's very upset in the idea that he's no longer the main choice as a lover for Tariana. That she had officially moved on to Ben Grimm because he's now the greatest warrior in their village. And he gets very upset by this. But we jump over to Ben Grimm. And when we do, we see Ben Grimm getting closer and closer to the actual center of the castle. Except, again, it's getting harder and harder for him to breathe. But then out of nowhere, he began to see all these different kinds of creatures. Now, these creatures are kind of weighing him down because, again, they're making it hard for him to breathe. And Ben realized the only way he'll be able to push through this is to go ahead and change into his Thane form once again. which he actually does, so that he's able to fight on. Except when he walks into the next room, he finds Dr. Doom. Except Dr. Doom is actually a hologram, because when you have Ben go to punch Doom, he goes straight through Doom into a machine. And once he does hit the machine, everything explodes around him. But then you have Ben realize that everything around him is completely gone. And I mean everything around him is completely gone. You have Ben realize the castle is gone. The village is gone. The people who lived in that village is also gone. Heck, even Henrak is gone as well. The only two people left right now is Ben Grimm and Tariana. Now you have Ben tell her that basically everything was fake, all because of Dr. Doom. You see, back in Secret Wars, before Doom was defeated, he left behind a backup plan. This projector that was able to dive deep into the mind of Dr. Doom to kind of show the world what he sees the world as, how he looks at the world, or how he looks at Doomstat back at home. And so all those different people we saw earlier is how Doom sees the world around him back on Earth, back in Doomstat. But the question is right now, how is Tariana still around? Now remember, Battleworld was made by the Beyonder, and so Battleworld is just one big huge mystery. And so for Ben, he believes because he wants Tariana around so much, because he cares for her, because he likes her so much, that Battleworld kind of said, fine, if you want her around, we'll keep her around for you. And so technically she's only here because Ben wants her here. And that's really it. And this is where we are going to end today's comic book video. So please leave me a like down below and subscribe. But also, guys, if you have any suggestions on books I should read, well, please let me know in the comments below, because you never know, your suggestion could be a future video down the road. But guys, see y'all next time. Later.